playing lute for roughly 10 years. I got my start in electric guitar, and then classical guitar, and then I added lute to the mix. And I've heard a lot of misconceptions and myths along the way that almost prevented me from playing lutes. And nothing is more prevalent, there's no myth more widespread than the idea that when you play lute, you have to cut off your nails. Lucky for all of you classical guitar players out there, this is indeed a myth. At this very moment, I'm playing with nails, and before you arrest me for early music blasphemy, the composer of this piece, Piccinini, played with nails. So if you're playing one of the many varieties of lutes like this one, a lute a theorbo, an arch lute, a theorbo, a Baroque guitar, we know players at the time used nails. So please don't let that stop you from playing these instruments if you want to be super historical. Now when it comes to music from the Renaissance, like music by John Dowland, our most famous Elizabethan lute player, things get a bit more ambiguous. We don't have much evidence from the Renaissance period, 1400 to 1600 roughly, of players using nails. However, there are some references in treatises to players saying they prefer the sound without nails, or they think you should play without nails. This also suggests that maybe some people were, and so when they wrote their book, they were thinking, oh, I better mention I prefer without nails. We don't know. So while my current understanding is that the Renaissance lute players tend to prefer playing without nails, and after 1600 we have players who definitely played with nails, regardless, you can play all lute music with nails. Some will claim that it's impossible to play the lute with nails, but this is not true. For example, one thing I often hear is that double strings are impossible to play with nails. Well, that's not true. I have a nail, you touch both strings, and you play as one. So you just have to make sure you pluck both strings. Same deal with the thumb. So I'm not plucking one string, which would be this. I'm touching both strings, and you hear a nice thick sound of two strings. You can really hear it with the octave basses. When I have a low octave and an upper octave. So you can hear when I pluck, you can hear both octaves. The sound with nails on a lute is a little brighter. The hard surface of the nail tends to make a slightly more abrasive sound. But in my experience, if you simply go from your classical guitar technique, which can be a bit more abrasive because the instrument can take it with high tension strings, these strings are very like rubber bands. They're super loose, half the tension. So if you simply relax your touch, you can create beautiful sounds. One other point I wanted to mention is that in the early Renaissance, you had this sort of hand position, which they use on lutes, which we call thumb under. So my thumb is playing on the inside of my hand, and generally the instruments were held more horizontally, and the instrument was plucked almost like you're holding a pick, which they did before actually. This is often called figetta. It's lightning fast, and really playing like this unlocked a lot of music for me from the early Renaissance period. And this technique can also be played with nails. In the end, all of these things are preference. Whether you play without nails, whether you play with nails, the same is true on the classical guitar. One thing is for sure, we know that people throughout time experimented. Some preferred different sounds. This is true today. Why would it be different then? So if you're a classical guitarist who wants to get into lute playing and you think you can't do it because you have to cut off your nails, luckily, yes, you can play the lute. You don't have to stop playing classical guitar. I never have. I've played with nails, without nails. You can do both. And in fact, nails on many lutes, like theorbo Baroque guitar, I think sounds better than without nails personally. In the end, a lot of these things are personal taste. The point is it works. You don't have to give up one instrument that you love. All right, thanks for watching and see you next time.